Hello guys, it's shrimp time here, and in today's video about shrimp keeping I will show you an update on shrimp tanks that I've started using active soil. This is quite unusual way of keeping NEOCARIDINA shrimps, but in my opinion and with my experience, this way of keeping NEOCARIDINA shrimps is very good and showed me a great results, and all of my NEOCARIDINA shrimp tanks will be started and will be in this method. As you can see, here we got some close-ups of my NEOCARIDINA shrimps. Using the time that I will show you some of those close-up, I will describe the method that I used to start all those NEOCARIDINA shrimp tank. I use active soil that is dedicated for the plants, and under the layer of the active, and the first layer was the layer of active soil. The next layer that I use is this gravel, which is very natural, very nice looking gravel, and it has one very unusual factor. Because all of us, usually when we are keeping NEOCARIDINA shrimps or other shrimps, try to use very little small particles of soil. But in my opinion, this way of keeping shrimps is very good. And as you can see on these close-ups, the shrimps are breeding all the time. We see a lot of young shrimps that are in those tanks, and I think that this way is very nice. The very important factor that made me change my way of keeping NEOCARIDINA shrimps was the fact that the tanks that I kept the shrimps in were a little bit of boring, because they've got only mosses, no other plants, and they didn't have so much of active filtration of the tank by the plants. And in NEOCARIDINA shrimps tank, we need to remember that we will get a very high amount of shrimps, and they will produce a lot of NO3. And using the plants to make the filtration for us will keep lower amounts of water changes needed, and will make it easier to keep the NEOCARIDINAs. And here you can see also the shrimp food that I'm making for my NEOCARIDINAs and Caridina shrimps, and you can see the recipe for this food in my last video. You can use it as a dust for the tank, and you can also use it by adding a little bit of water to this recipe as a pellet shrimp food, and it's very nice in using. And here is the oldest of my new method tank. You can see very nice colony of green jades, and you can see some ideas of making this tank. The first and the most important idea is that I will keep the front of the tank usually with very low amount of the gravel or with bare glass. This is due to the fact that I will put the shrimp food in the front part of the tank, and shrimp has an easier way to feed on that food, and I also have an easier way to remove the excess amount of food if the shrimps won't eat it. But usually I can decide what amount should I feed the shrimps, and shrimps should eat all of the food. And here you can see the best in plant growth tank. As you can see, we have a very nice big chunk of the moss on the left side on the tank, and in the background there are the plants that are growing due to the fact that we don't have a lot of CO2 in this tank. In the matter of fact, I don't use the CO2. The plants will grow slowly. And these are Bloody Mary shrimps. As you can see, the coloration is great, especially at the male that you can see in the front. And guys, if you like the quality of the videos and you like the knowledge that I share, you can consider supporting me, because I would like to invest in a better equipment for filming, getting the better quality, even more quality for those shrimps with better gear. And as you can know, the gear is quite expensive. Here I did a funny way, because the recipe for the food that I use, it's a little bit like a gum if you add a water to it, and you can put this food on the glass and it will tear apart in the particles, and the shrimps can feed on this food very easily, especially the young shrimps. And here we are with our green jades again, and you can see the amount of young shrimps in the tank. This is the latest tank that I've started on this method, and I even decided to make a larger layer of clear glass in the tank. We have to add some plants at the back, and we got sponge filters, but I'm thinking about developing my own sponge filter, because this UGF filters tends to get clogged and to lose the water flow in the filtration, and they need a lot of maintenance. And if you got so high amount of tanks in your breeding place, it takes a lot of time to make this maintenance. So I need to think about making my own filtrations. This is the green jade tank, but you get the higher look. As you can see, we only use sponge filters in this tank. And in the back, you can see the beautiful plants slowly growing. They got a nice coloration, nice growth in the tank. And I think that most of the tank will look this way in some time. The main difficulty in keeping shrimps with this type of setup is that when the plants will grow out in too big amount, there will be a harder time making the selections of the shrimps. And as you can see on the surface of the tank, I use duckweed. And a lot of people can say duckweed is quite hard plant because it will grow in excess amount. But you need to remember that duckweed will take most of nitrogen from your tank, and it's very, very nice and good way of taking that nitrogen from the tank. In this tank, we have unusual filtration. On the left side, you can see, I forgot the name of this filtration, but the main reason of those filtration media tumbling all the time is the fact that they will get a lot of air to the filtration media. So this is a very efficient filtration to bring down your NH3, NH4 or NO2. But it will produce a high amount of NO3. And thanks to the fact that we got some plants in the tank, we have very nice moss here. The plants will take out this NO3 from the tank, and we shouldn't have any issue with the filtration. Here is the last tank. As you can see, this is the blue velvet tank, and shrimps are breeding here as well, but due to the fact of the moss in the front of the tank, we cannot see all of the shrimps. Let me put the light in the better spot so we'll have some better view, and when we put the light, we can see more of those shrimps breeding here nicely and looking for the food. And if you are interested in the way of starting up this type of tanks, here is a link to the video that I describe whole the methodology of starting the tank.